Good morning from Pattaya on a breezy day at the top of Pratamnak. It's really a thought for today, as I just can't help but be consumed by this mass uncertainty that's happening due to COVID, with the international borders effectively in lockdown. Let's face it, unless you have to travel, no one really wants to do the quarantine and spend the 14 days in the hotel. Why would you if it's for short-term travel? It's a big bulk of your time and it's an extra expense. But the uncertainty is not just on one level, but impacting multiple fronts. And even when you look at the first layer of impact, that then trickles down to second and third layers, which causes devastation and tragedy beyond what's initially obvious. I guess I should explain, because I've sort of broken this down into three sections. The uncertainty is driven really by people and countries' optimism whenever there seems to be a breakthrough. And news over the last weeks has been that Thailand, certainly Phuket and Samui, wishes to open borders fully by October with no quarantine. And then literally a week later, there seems to be a spate of COVID outbreaks, and that narrative comes off the table rather quickly. You see, spending time here in Thailand, there seems to be a polarisation in attitudes towards COVID and protection, and you can split that by foreigners and Thais. Thais are scared. I was in a meeting the other day wearing a mask, and the Thai even made me sanitise my hands in front of them. And this is typical. I mean, you're even lucky sometimes to get in front of a Thai for a meeting. Foreigners, on the other hand, don't see a problem, would rather not wear masks, but do because it's courtesy and the right things to do. Very interesting now that behaviours as you walk into every 7-Eleven is you sanitise your hand, get your temperature checked, and go about your business. But absolutely with a mask, that seems to be the one place where masks are an absolute must. Now, let's come to my point. Sorry to make it long-winded, but the impact on Thailand being multiple front. Yeah, okay. Travel industry is devastated. Areas like Pattaya, Samui, Phuket, Koh Tao, Phang are really feeling the brunt. And it's not just the hotel groups that are bleeding money and making losses, but staff. Many staff remain laid off. Some are on 50% of their salaries. And when you consider that a lot of these staff have travelled from different villages to take these jobs on relatively low incomes, when they're slashed and they've still got living costs, it becomes a step too far. And of course, the money they make is unable to go to their families, and that causes an issue elsewhere. But when you think about it on a logical level as well, if there's less people in the economy making money, even if it's a particular sector, I'm saying the obvious, I'm sure, but just to spell it out, that will impact the country as a whole, because these people won't be spending in other areas. So I've not looked at the stats, but car sales and dining out and treats and creature comforts like that. The tourist areas are empty because staff have gone back to their villages and are just holding tight until that recovery ends. Really, it's a significant shift in consumer and people behaviours, and you wonder how long that will take to repair when and if we get hold of COVID over the next year or so. What will people's appetites be to return to these areas to work? And how might have their day-to-day life changed so much that these habits and trends are difficult to reverse? Something else that I want to point out is relationships. I use my brother as an example. He normally rings me as soon as I do one of these vlogs and say, jokingly, stop talking about me. But him and his wife's Thai, have not seen each other for 2 years now. And you wonder how these relationships change during that shift in how the relationship acts and works. I'm not saying that that's going to result in relationships splitting up, but I am going to say it will change things. But also bear a thought for us expats as well. I've not seen my brothers or any family in the UK for 2 years. I didn't know COVID was going to hit. And looking at the way the market is, I can't see myself going back to the UK for another year. There's too much uncertainty. I'd probably need my vaccination. And I'm not sure when that vaccination will be offered to me here in Thailand. So I think I've covered it really, the travel industry and the repercussions, relationships in general, and then the consumer behaviours that have been hit by all this. How hard will it be to turn this around, and will we ever see the world the same again? Until next time, stay safe, down about Thailand.